I feel like they were an afterthought.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Afterburners. It is your host here, Grape, with my other host, Alex. And today we're going to be talking about living in a simulation.
Low paper
All right. So, simulation theory is a popular theory that has gotten a lot more traction in recent years. I think it really began popping off. Wasn't it like 1980s, 90s?
Yeah, I want to say it's like almost 2000s,
Uh-huh.
early 90s. Could have been 80s. I honestly, yeah. It's
And
been a little more of
right,
a recent sort of
yeah,
thought
yeah,
experiment.
because I think it kind of came with the idea of computers because you're gonna need a type of computer in order to run a simulation. For those of
Right.
you unfamiliar with what simulation theory is, it is the idea that we live in a simulated reality. Everything in this is fake, and this could be either a different theory known as brain in a jar or brain in a vat, where your brain is just isolated, being fed stimulus, being fed this reality. We're talking about being simulated within a computer, which is both very interesting and quite existential to think about. Uh, but Alex, what are your thoughts on the simulation theory?
Man, oh man. It's one of those kind of philosophical thought experiments that I guess, you know, if you're studying philosophy, you're like, oh yeah, I guess that could be a potential reality. And it's almost kind of shocking to kind of realize like, what if all of our experiences are not real per se? But you know, I'm a casual enjoyer of the Matrix series, and I just there's a part of it where does it really matter what is real? At
Mm-hmm.
some point where it's like, if it seems real enough, when does it become the thing that's real? What even is real, right?
Right, right, right.
So,
And it's
but
it's 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 also hard to tell if like yes, I'm aware this is a physical object, but is it truly there? Like, yes, I can
mhm,
feel it, but is it simulated? Is
mhm.
this feeling of touching it being an alternate stimulus being fed to my brain?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, Matrix is a really good representation of what that idea could be. Another one is "Don't Worry, Darling." If you've ever seen that
Oh, yeah.
movie,
Yeah, that's a good one.
that's also a good one. Uh,
The Truman Show.
yes, The
I like that
Truman
one.
Show is. I mean,
A little
I
bit.
mean, he's not really in a
Yeah.
simulation, but his whole life is it's a fake reality.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then I think it also kind of sparked more interest after I think Elon Musk talked about it.
Oh yeah, he popularized it quite
Back
a lot.
when
Yeah.
he was, held to higher regards than he is today.
Sure. Yeah.
How
A
far
lot of
he has
people, some
fallen.
people in some people in the actual tech field, it's a common thing in the
Hmm.
tech field for people to be like, maybe we are in the simulation.
Yeah,
Um,
but I
one
just
of
remember
the
him talking about it, and just with what I experienced after he announced it, a lot of people kind of talked about it a bit more.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I guess one of the main basic arguments for the simulation theory is we're saying that it's likely that the simulation theory is quote unquote real because there's a lot more chances per se, um, if you have like large time scales and you have things evolve within those environments, they're gonna probably figure something out like logic, right? And
Right.
then they're gonna create simulations that And then those simulations are going to do the same thing that, they create an environment, they have time scales, and they develop their own logic. And so you kind of have this sort of causal chain, and then sort of asking, well, which simulation is the real one? Um, we could have like it basically it's a little complicated, but the basic premise is that um, it's more likely that we are not the real true simulation, but we're probably just one down the line that the original simulation was, right?
Right. Yeah. So basically, what Alex is saying in more simplified terms is that basically, if there is an advanced civilization that has made millions of these simulations, the chances that you are in a simulation is just very high. Uh, however, I literally watched the video a little bit ago, but I forget the name. It's on Kurtzagat, but I
Yeah.
forget who it was. I'm gonna do a quick search. Okay. I mean it's 3 criteria, but I have 5 here, so that's whatever. But I believe the guy is philosopher Nick Bostrom. In 2003, he proposed the simulation argument, suggesting that if a civilization becomes capable of creating conscious civilizations. So here are the assumptions that basically need to be true in order for us to even like really acknowledge simulation theory to be a true possibility. So
Mhm.
the first assumption is that an advanced civilization will be able to simulate full consciousness. And this would require a computer that is able to do a million, trillion calculations per second, which is far beyond anything that we currently have. But we're talking about an advanced civilization, which is entirely possible that they could create something like that. And ideas of what those things could be would be a quantum computer or a matryoshka brain. I think I'm saying that right? Matryoshka. It's a hypothetical megastructure, like nested Dyson spheres, built around a star to capture virtually all of its energy for immense computational power, and it's named after the Russian nesting dolls. So essentially, instead of a Dyson sphere that can also house people and stuff, instead, this Dyson sphere is a supercomputer. And by having all this energy from the sun, it's able to just do insanely complex calculations very fast, very efficiently, millions and trillions and quadrillions times over. Like, it's insane. The third assumption is that advanced civilizations don't self destruct. This could be the Great Filter with things like nuclear weapons or maybe some huge asteroid, who knows? Or possibly just the Fermi paradox, which also explains why we don't really see aliens. The fourth assumption is that advanced civilizations will want to run simulations. Uh, However, this is where I kind of begin to have a small problem with it, because how it's kind of explained is, imagine ants to us, right?
Right.
Incomprehensible. That ant doesn't understand like anything we do, and anything an ant does kind of insignificant. Like we're just like, yeah, okay, cool, ants, whatever.
Hating on the ants,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah. Well, here's the thing. Compared to an advanced civilization that could be near God status in terms of just how powerful they are and how knowledgeable and how smart and capable they are, we would
Right.
be like ants to them. So it's like, like, yeah, we have all these very cool, unique, and fun experiences, but like in the Kurt Scott video, like riding a roller coaster, sure, that's a fun experience. But the waiting in line to get onto that roller coaster, not so much. I don't really see a purpose in having any of that simulated. I just feel like there would be more big moments happening. Just I don't know. Personally, that's what I think. And the fifth and final assumption is that if there are a lot of simulations, chances are that you are in one, given multiple simulations being made. So, Alex, what do you think about those assumptions?
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good, presupposition axiom, if you will. I really like your point about consciousness
Keep
because
talking.
we don't quite yet know if consciousness can actually be replicated in simulation. So um, it's one contingency that might may or may not work. Um, I know there's been a lot of sort of recent development trying to understand consciousness and what it all means. But philosophers have been kind of at this for thousands of years, right? And yeah,
All the way back with, like, I think, therefore I am, but you can
yeah,
only say that for yourself. Everyone else
right,
could be not real.
right. And
Yeah.
actually, I wanted to mention too also that the yogis also sort of had this kind of notion too, where um they kind of almost separate consciousness from experience a little bit.
Uh,
Um,
isn't it that they believe that experiences are like illusions in a way?
yeah, I've heard, the term Maya, like the world we find ourselves in isn't necessarily the true reality. Um, and yeah, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of, speculation. This is kind
Yeah.
of like been going on for a long time, but there's kind of been this underlying notion that like, well, how can we prove anything about reality? We kind of have to, at some point, we have to kind of trust our senses to some degree,
Yes. Yes.
and we also
But
cross-reference.
but at the
So
same
we,
time, can we trust our senses if it's fed stimulus?
I would say I personally trust my senses.
Are you
One
sure
way of
that's
like
not the computer telling you to do that?
one one way of like checking, right, is like the scientific method. So
Right.
we have something and we have like a convergent theory, right? So if you get enough people that come together and they're all like pointing at this one thing, chances are it's real, right? Um, or we're saying it's most likely to be real, right? But at the end of the day, yeah, we are kind of just trusting our senses and our gut. Um, for a lot of life, right? And I would say there's something healthy in that, where um, it's good to it's good to sort of trust your senses, but not too much, maybe. Um, a healthy respect for our sensory input.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, leaving that door open, I guess, is like kind of the fun part because I mean, we don't really know. We don't truly know. And that's kind of you can't really disprove this simulation argument. Also, a good, sort of backup for the argument is like you can't
Right.
disprove it.
Right.
It's the whole
Yeah.
God thing.
Whole
Like
God thing, the whole Big Bang thing. It's just a redundant argument. All what I always see that boiling down to is you have to argue the evidence for each.
right,
It can't be
right.
proven nor disproven. However, given the evidence we have, what seems to be the most likely answer?
Right, right. Yeah, and I guess again, it's not you can't really prove the simulation argument. You could say that everything is at least some form of computation. So some sort of interaction is happening.
Mm-hmm.
You have, things that come together, break apart, things that are exchanging information with each other. So you could sort of define a rudimentary like kind of clause about, you know, things are generally thought of as bits of information, and we contextualize that information in our brains. And so our consciousness and our brains were constantly trying to gain more continuity and context through observing information. And so you could just say that everything is information,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd kind of be right in some sense. And
Oh yeah.
if you can break apart information into like logic, well then it's all just kind of like logic. So yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
yeah.
given that there is a high chance that we are in a simulation, Alex, do you personally believe that we are in a simulation?
If I'm being completely honest, I like to think this is the original reality. Um, but yeah, I don't actually know. I'm not here to make any like strong claims, but I
Right.
will say one thing I have thought about a little bit is that if it were a further simulation down the line, maybe it would be a little bit slower than the primary simulation, like the update speed, or like, you know, maybe it would run slightly like slower, because you could imagine if you had like in any sort of um like you could have a folder and a folder and a folder and a folder. You'd think maybe after enough time it would kind of be a lot of information to keep track of each folder and subfolder. Um,
And
but I don't know.
and
It's
that on
just further
top
speculation.
of the how many people have ever existed and currently exist and those that will exist.
It seems like a tremendous amount of computation,
Hmm.
and you know, it's cool to think about, but it just seems like mind numbing at some point where it's like,
Yeah.
why would we need all this complexity? There's a point
Right.
towards complexity where you're like, well, what does it mean?
Right.
Yeah.
A popular, I guess, like counter to that is that like, uh, all my organs, my heart, my lungs, they aren't there until they are observed,
Oh,
right?
sure.
Which
Yeah.
brings up the whole quantum mechanics of of observation and not observing, because like
Right. How can something be even if
right,
I'm not looking at it? Yeah.
like the famous question, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to witness it, does it make a noise? Well,
Right.
given our understanding of physics, we would say, well, yes, it causes disturbance within the air, and that's how the sound is made. That's how the sound travels. Of course, there's going to be sound made, but
Yeah. If
for a
there's no perceiver.
computer, that is simulating that in order to save resources, it
Mm,
won't it won't have that. However, that also brings up an interesting point with the double slit experiment. If like if they act different when not being observed, is it because they are following a program that runs in the background?
hard to say.
Because, I mean, that's kind of weird, but
Mhm.
it's also at the same time kind of a counter to a simulation, like not having, like saving resources by not having anything, happen until observed.
Mhm. One thing I kind of like to think about, and this is maybe less simulation theory, more like yogic philosophy, is I would kind of say that there's stuff that exists that is expressed or manifested, and it doesn't really matter. It wouldn't really matter if that manifestation never is observed. You could imagine the same kind of universe that we find ourselves in, but no humans, no creatures. You know, it wouldn't. It exists, but there'd be nothing to perceive it,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not interesting, right? We could probably agree that a manifest universe that has no intelligible being in it is not an interesting universe. And on the flip side, if all we had was consciousness and no manifestation, nothing that would be expressed, it would just kind of be this black void, right, of nothingness. Sure, there'd be a conscious being trying to make sense of something, but there's nothing to make sense of, right? That's also not interesting. So to get like an interesting universe where things happen and things are understood and perceived, you need both an observer to, you know, understand what is being seen, and then something to be seen. So I always thought that was kind of an interesting principle where you kind of need people to see things, and you need something to be observed or seen. And if you don't have both of those elements, you don't have an intelligible universe, which I always thought was really profound and very interesting. Um, so yeah.
Indeed, and it's definitely it's keep tripping over my words. It's definitely interesting, like how like you would want an interesting universe, you know,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I feel like if an advanced civilization made a simulation, I feel like the first one would be like as closely as possibly replicating their own timeline. Oh, I'm so sorry. You okay? All right, it's fine. Don't run into my hand space, bud. Come on.
One thing I might add too, is that, our universe, I think people don't really understand how finely tuned everything is. I heard pretty reliable source suggest that, um, if you were to change gravity, if you could go into the computer code and
Right,
change how gravity operates and move it just slightly one decimal one further or away, if you made it slightly more gravity, slightly more
right.
heavier, or slightly less impactful, we wouldn't have an intelligible universe because it would either all compress into this really compressed, dense,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Exactly.
thing, or it would all just kind of scatter out into nothingness, right?
Yeah.
And so the fact that the way that
Order does
gravity
not come
moves,
out of chaos.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. Well, yeah, yeah,
It's just I feel like, either we were simulated by whoever our creator is, or whatever possible god in whatever religions that are possible that explain where everything is created from.
I would say it's very peculiar just how intelligible everything is. Just by the fact that gravity is so finely tuned and precise is thought provoking, you could
Oh,
say.
oh, absolutely. It's
Um,
the I mean you're basically just talking about the fine tune argument, I think,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
basically intelligent design,
yeah,
uh,
pretty much.
lending.
I even mentioned
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I even mentioned the other day, I find it interesting how logic is a thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I was asking, well, did God create logic, or does God need logic to create? You know, because somebody could say, oh yeah, he created everything, even logic and the
Mm-hmm.
concept.
Yeah.
But I would say God, in order to be intelligible, he kind of has to have logic
Mm-hmm.
be a
I
thing.
I have my own religious answer for that if you'd like it.
Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the idea of that is, so God, all powerful, correct?
Sure.
Yes. However, with the whole, at least in the Christian and Jewish theology,
Hmm.
it's that God has limited his uh, almighty power in order to give us free will,
Right.
and by that, by also limiting himself, he also has to follow logic. He can't make a square a circle
Hmm.
because he has limited himself.
Yeah, I see what you're saying or what you're shooting for. I guess what I'm kind of saying is that whoever you are, if you're creating a universe
Mm-hmm.
and you want that universe to be understood in some way at all, both God and the creatures in the universe have to adhere to some logic principle.
Mm-hmm.
because even God himself, to create this intricate universe that he did, has to again be constrained. Your words, he has to constrain himself in order to make anything intelligible whatsoever.
Fair.
And so, yeah, it's a question of like, okay, well, God sort of needs logic, but does logic need God? It's one of those, yeah, it's like you could say they both kind of need each other. And maybe God just did create logic, right? Who
Well, I
knows?
mean, since we're talking about the whole idea of a simulation, basically errata, God being the creator of this simulation or the
Sure,
creators of this simulation,
sure, yeah,
uh, we abide by different rules, Alex, because we are in a system, a program meant to follow commands
mm-hmm.
and codes and input. And I mean, yes, this advanced civilization outside has, their universe that is real, that has its own rules to adhere by. But who's to say that? Because if there are, millions of simulations created, the chances of us being the, like, oh, where did we come from simulation, probably not us. We're probably some fun experiment that some kids doing for
Sure.
high school because everyone has access to this type of technology now.
Right.
It's it's like they could completely be going by like different logic than what we're constrained by. Like
Yeah, but it has to be
their
some kind
logical
of logic.
constraints could be much more loose.
Sure.
Like maybe they have figured out quantum mechanics and quantum theory and string theory or whatever, and just have made such incredible advancements that they're basically able to, in a way, control how their universe works, if that makes sense.
Well, I would just kind of say that I'm kind of thinking of a very basic form of like syllogistic logic, where it's often like comparison, contrasting. So you kind of need two different kinds of variables in order to do logic.
Right.
Yeah, sure, they could have maybe a different form of logic, what you're talking about, but it has to be some intelligible code,
True.
And like I'm saying that God is still constrained in some respect by some intelligible code if they want to make a universe that is intelligible, which it seems to be that this universe is.
Mm.
Um,
Well, I mean,
but it's very peculiar. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like I said, the all-powerful God would have to constrain himself.
Yeah. And another thing I might add to this, I was thinking more loosely, I think energy is always constrained. So if like we think of like an energy thing, there has to be kind of some beginning and end to it to make sense of it at all. If it were just boundless energy, you couldn't really say anything about it, I would say. It's just motion. But in our, sort of world that we find her in, energy energy might be big, it might be powerful, it might be massive, but I always think it's kind of interesting how there has to sort of be some beginning and end to it, um, and some way it expresses itself, and we observe that expression, interaction. But yeah, I think intelligibility kind of requires constraint. If it's not constrained, I can't understand it. You
But I mean, wouldn't the creator also not be fully understandable?
Sure. Well, I mean, God said is often described as like infinite, right? Where we
Incomprehensible.
live. Yeah,
Appears
yeah. I
as a
mean, it's like,
burning bush, and
yeah,
whenever he actually appears, he's like, "Hey, you might want to look away, because if you see me, like your brain's going to break."
yeah, yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But kind of getting off of the religion tangent. Every
Sure.
time it's either religion or AI. Every time, every episode, it's one of the two. But I love it. Uh,
They're good topics.
yeah, it's just fun hypotheticals, man. I love it. Uh, but I kind of wanted to bring up the. Are you familiar with Last Thursdayism?
Yeah, we might have talked about that briefly once,
Yeah.
but yeah.
for those of you unfamiliar, last Thursdayism is the belief that the universe and everything was just created last Thursday. We came into existence last Thursday. This is Friday,
Mhm.
so yesterday we were created. Everything beforehand, not exactly real.
And our
And
memories were altered and were
right,
wiped and stuff.
right, and the thing is like, to me, memories are weird because like, yes, I can access a memory. It's like a little movie in my head because
Yeah.
I don't suffer from that weird thing where you can't picture things in your head. Get Rex Scrubs.
Adhedonia.
Adpodomia or aphantasia, something like that.
Oh, aphantasia. Aphantasia. That's what.
Aphantasia. Uh, that's just a condition where a person can't visualize something in your head. So, like, right now, I can visualize a Granny Smith apple in my head. I see the apple. It is round. I see the stem. It's green. It's glistening. It's got some mist on it. I see that in my head. People suffering with aphantasia cannot do that. And another weird thing about them is I just find these people super interesting. If you have it, please let us know. I would love to have you on an episode so we can just interview and talk about it. It's just so cool.
I actually have that.
You
If you
do?
didn't know. Yeah.
You
I
get.
can't picture.
I think we did talk about this. Like you can't
Yeah.
see dreams, right?
Dreaming is different. I can't wakefully. My mind's eye and my wakeful life is not active.
It's like you're blind, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
imaginarily blind. I
Yeah,
can't. I
but
can't.
but me, in my dreams, I can see stuff. I see what's going on. But what's also weird is that even though you're blind in your dream, you like know where you are,
Yeah.
and like your other senses are heightened. You get more senses. I feel like in your
Yeah,
dream.
I use words a lot and context clues, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I always kind of find it fascinating how people can literally think in their mind's eye.
Okay,
That, yeah.
I heard that like you can't like actually hear people talking in your dreams.
Oh no, I can. Auditory's fine.
Really? Because
Yeah,
every
it
time
might
I
be different
think
for different people, but
of like any time I've had a dream of where there's someone else and there has of course been a conversation, it's either after that conversation has happened and I just remember the context of the conversation, or
right.
it's like they are talking but like through with what I'm seeing they aren't. It's like
Hmm.
telepathy, weirdly. Like I just don't see people talking. I cannot remember a single dream I've had where I have like actually had someone open their mouth and speak to me. It's always
Wow.
like I remember one dream with an old crush, and every time I asked her a question, she would answer with like a head shake or a smile, or by it was never verbal.
Hmm.
But that's weird that you can like get those auditory get like context.
Yeah, I think
Through
you're definitely right about
sure.
like we have to kind of rely less on visual cues. Um, it's tricky, There's some people that kind of believe that well, since our memory and our, learning ability is quite largely correlated with our visual cortex, that people with aphantasia, yeah, might have a lot harder difficulty learning things because they don't have that visual aid ability where if you have a visual model, it makes things really good to understand and interpretable. But if you don't, well, that's, it takes maybe more effort to like remember
Yeah,
things, or
and
you remember it
and if you
differently.
are suffering from something like this, it's it's there's nothing wrong with you. It's just how your brain works.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
mean, not much you can do about that. You just got to work with what you were given.
Yeah, yeah. And
But yeah,
sometimes some people say it's even, it might open up other avenues in your ability. Like,
right.
um, yeah, who knows? One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Amen. You
But
gotta hoard that garbage.
yeah. But let's see. Yeah, aphantasia. It's an interesting thing, and it's talking about that kind of sensorium that we've talked about before, where again the sensorium is where our
Yep.
senses are converging,
Someone
where
tripped
we're
over a
sort of,
wire.
yeah, like we're sort
You
of
got
like
disconnected there, buddy.
right, but yeah, it's like what do we feel internally? Yeah, and that's something we don't really. You can't open up a person's brain and
Right.
like
That's another
see what it's
interesting
like
thing.
to taste
Yeah.
something.
But the reason I kind of brought the whole aphantasia thing up is that, like, to me, these memories that, like, I'm accessing are kind of like what when I dream. It doesn't, like, I know it was real and that it happened, but at the same
Hmm,
time, your brain can modify memories. So it also has this sense of unrealism,
sure.
also
Yeah.
kind of liminal in a way.
Sure. Yeah. False
Uh,
memory.
yeah,
Mm,
but uh, like, and it's weird because I can also give myself false memories. Like I can
mm,
literally like imagine myself as a kid in a that weird picture that describes liminal space with like the tree that has a face on it and like all the play equipment it has faces and stuff and it's just creepy and weird. Like I can visualize that and stuff, and it's just like I feel like that lends credit to like last Thursdayism when our simulation was started,
sure. Yeah.
because you know the
You can
past,
even
the
you could ask more generally. Yeah.
like we know the past happened, but can we prove that it happened?
Yeah. It's another one of those arguments that like, well, is this real? And I know I hear what you're saying. And yeah, I mean there's kind of a point where we do trust our senses, but then there's kind of a point where we don't necessarily trust our senses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, um
And that also gets a real muddled mess when you throw in people that have mental illnesses that like hallucinate and trust these voices that they're hearing.
right. Yeah.
And that's another
Um
weird thing. Like, why would someone feed this hallucination auditorium to someone?
mhm, right. Right. Yeah. Uh
Just the kid with
how
the
do we how
magnifying
do we trust
glass on the
ourselves?
anthill. We're on the anthill. We got the magnifying glass over us.
Yeah, and I think memory is one of those things where it's like harder to kind of prove, because it's
Right.
much more of a felt sort of experience. We can't just bring up a monitor and like, here's my memory,
Not yet.
unless
Not
we
yet.
have not
Not
yet, right?
yet. BCIs. If you haven't
Yeah.
seen that episode, go watch it. It's a good one.
But I guess that's kind of how maybe I view proof a little bit. When somebody says prove something, it's a little bit of a difficult sort of thing for me to suggest because to me, it's like a confidence metric. How confident do you feel that what you're trying to prove is something that is real?
Right.
And
Every
there are different
experiment you've
ways.
done has just worked the way it has. Who's to say that a future experiment will have a different result?
Right. Yeah, I guess it's maybe not always worthwhile to constantly question the axioms.
Mm-hmm.
If you know about like math and like
Right.
axioms, we have to kind of
And
assume the
let me ask you
axiom.
something, Alex.
Mhm.
Can you scientifically prove that you need to scientifically prove something to prove that it's real?
Oh my. Consensus information is kind of the most
Bring
rigorous proof we
evidence.
have. Yeah. Like, yeah. Methodology of how you prove something is provable. Um, there's a lot of speculation, honestly, and like,
Yeah, I mean
Yeah, I mean,
that's all it really is, because we can't prove nor disprove that this is a simulation. So arguing prove it is, well prove that it's not, is it's redundant. Just like the whole
right,
prove God's real, prove he isn't. It's redundant. It's a stupid
right.
circular argument.
It is, yeah, it's circular, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, provability.
I
I
can't
think it's
prove
kind
it,
of.
but you can't disprove it, or vice
I
versa.
think this is kind of the main problem with science. I think is that you got a lot of scientists that says, yeah, you can prove stuff, and we can feel confident in
Yeah,
what we've proven. And I don't think.
absolutely. It's not like science is useless. Science is very
Right.
useful, and we've used it to learn a lot about our nature and how the universe works.
I think I would say it more like we capture some amount of truth in the pursuit of proving. We don't necessarily always capture the full embodiment of what we would call truth when we're trying to prove something. We get like we encapsulate bits and pieces here and there. But to fully prove something, yeah, it's there's a part where it kind of becomes a bit redundant and arbitrary. Um, because we just trust that gravity is just going to be the way it is tomorrow as it is today, you know.
Mm-hmm.
um we don't know what tomorrow, gravity could turn off, right? And we would have no way of knowing that. But if continuity is saying anything, it's saying this is how things have been and it doesn't seem to be varying or changing really. um and so we can kind of trust certain things with a fair level of confidence. I like to use the word confidence because you can be confident about something and it can still be wrong. If you get something 9 times out of 10, it's still pretty good score. That 10% of time may or may not happen every once in a while. But you can still be confident in something, right?
Mm-hmm. Like D&D. I
Mhm.
have high confidence I'm going to hit.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I
I have high
mean,
confidence I won't roll 1 and my wand is destroyed.
yeah, yeah. What we will and what we desire and what is truth has kind of been a long standing battle for some
Mm-hmm.
people where, the age old battle of what we want, what we desire, what we will to be, and what is, and, what is measured to be true.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of harkening back to like the whole like proof stuff we were talking about. Are you familiar with what's inscribed over the Cavendish Library at the University of Cambridge?
Some notion about God, right?
Psalm 111:2. The works of the Lord are great, sought out of all them that have pleasure therein. Uh, Basically, a more simple translation is basically like, uh, blessed are those that are witnessing God's work in the universe, which I think is a interesting and very palpable thing to have, because like God can't be proven or disproven, yet we seek truth and
Hmm.
are trying to prove it. And I don't know, I just think it's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it is cool. There's this idea of gnosis. I don't know if you've looked into gnosis much.
Gnosis.
It's basically this old terminology that you can understand or meet God through knowledge and
Mm.
truth pursuit, by studying
Finding the
philosophy, by
evidence.
yeah. But if you're coming from this angle, if God represents truth and that's what it is, then if I pursue truth, even if I'm skeptical or scientifically minded,
Mm-hmm.
I'll find God eventually because truth and God are one and the same, right? So it's one way of like pursuing God through a rigorous understanding of truth, right? It's called
Uh,
gnosis.
it's weird
Topic
that you
gnosis.
bring up like the whole skepticism because that's kind of alluding to the idea of agnosticism, right?
Yeah, maybe a bit,
Well,
a little bit.
I heard something interesting earlier today about how like agnosticism isn't exactly like real when you have the factor of like death because you kind of have to have a belief of does something happen to us after death? Like, does it all go black? We just go back to our state of non-existence before we were conceived, or is there some sort of afterlife? Of do we get reincarnated? And I thought that was a very interesting, kind of dagger, pointed at it, like
Sure. Yeah.
because that is true. And if we are in a simulation, uh like what happens to us when our timer
When the VR
reaches its end?
headset comes off.
Yeah. When does Morpheus
Yeah.
call me?
The red pill or the blue pill.
Jeez. That
Yeah.
that's also a fun one. The whole red pill and blue pill, because it's kind of mimicking the whole locked in a cave. I forget the exact name, but it's something like that. But basically, imagine that up until your adult life right now, that you have just been locked in a cave, and the only thing you can see is shadows being cast by these
Oh,
soldiers that
Plato's
are
Plato's
patrolling. Huh?
Plato's cave. It's called
Yeah,
Plato's
yeah,
cave,
yeah.
I think.
Plato's cave. Plato's cave. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically, the idea is that if you are released and are able to leave this cave, the amount of just this information and change is so overwhelming that the odds of you going back into the cave are incredibly high because you
Mm.
are more comfortable with what you know.
Mm.
And of course, when you walk
Yeah.
back into the cave, you look up and you see these soldiers patrolling, probably now freaking out that you're free, and these fires, and you can now
Mm.
understand how these shadows are cast. And that to you is now freaking you out because you thought these shadows were these other entities themselves. You didn't know that
Right.
they were being caused by something else.
Right. That
And
actually just made me think of something actually pretty. I was thinking about this the other day. I think it's kind of worth noting. To me, when we think about sensation, there's kind of like good sensation. There's like nice,
yes,
gentle, like good sensations. And then there's, intolerable sensation and painful sensations. I was thinking about how where's the point where sort of pleasure can become painful almost. And you're talking about
talking
this
about masochism.
Plato. Well, you're talking about Plato's cave, and you're kind of right to point out, you know, a person gets used to a certain type of thing, a familiar sensation, if you
Mm-hmm.
will, but pain, can also look like a bombardment of sensation, where like I guess you can think of like a baby that is born for the first time. They're they're not happy. they're they're being bombarded with sensory information, and to us it looks like pain, because they're
Life's too
screaming out,
hard.
they're freaking out,
Life's
they're
too
in a new environment.
hard. Life's too hard. I don't like it. I'm a little baby. Ah, ah,
Right.
ah.
It's a bombardment of sensation to a person, yeah. And that looks pretty much the same as pain. Whereas a little bit of sensation could be said as pleasure or nice or preferable. But too much sensation is obviously, not good for people. So I always thought it was interesting, this kind of line of, where there's too much and there's not enough and there's just right, you know? It's just kind of it's cool to think that whole spectrum, and for each person it's subjectively different, Interesting stuff, yeah.
I'm
So
sorry, I blinked out.
it's all good. It's all good. Yeah.
It happens too much, man. I have a problem.
But
Too much going on.
yeah, sensation, man. Yeah, it's I think, some of it can be, I think about like anxiety too, and how it sort of relates to that whole nervous system. Your nervous system sends you signals and you interpret those signals. Complexity, anxiety related, these kind of principles. And
The butterfly dream. The most famous of all Zhuangzi? I butchered that. It's Chinese. Stories appears at the end of the second chapter on the equality of things and consists of a dream being briefly recalled. Once, Zhuangzi dreamed he was a butterfly flitting and fluttering about, happy with himself and doing as he pleased. He didn't know that he was Zhuangzi. Suddenly he woke up and there he was, solid and unmistakable Zhuangzi. But he didn't know if he was Zhuangzi, who had dreamt he was a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming that he was Zhuangzi. Between Zhuangzi and the butterfly, there must be some distinction. This is called the transformation of things. So this is a part of the dream theory, which is like a kind of another thing of simulation hypothesis,
Mhm.
which is that this reality is a dream, and that when we go to sleep, we actually awaken the true reality. And these dreams we have may be snippets that we are able to retrieve. But then
Yeah.
there's lucid dreaming, and that's just hijacking. You're taking the reins, dude.
Yeah.
In that crush dream I mentioned earlier, I actually started lucid dreaming at the end, and
Mhm.
bro, it was scary because I basically asked like, "Hey, am I dreaming?" and she nodded yes. It was weird because it kind of seemed like everything was kind of coming into focus all at once, and then
Mhm.
everything kind of just started like falling apart.
Mhm.
Like, not like, oh, the shelves are falling and the store is disintegrating. It was like my dream was starting to deteriorate from the background forward, and then I woke up.
Mhm.
I was this
Yeah.
close. I was this close to committing unmistakable human rights.
War crimes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Lucid dreaming can
man.
be fun, but also dangerous because people that lucid dream too much start to lose that line of reality and dreaming.
Right.
It's like that episode of American Dad where they tricked Steve into he was having a dream.
Yeah.
And he takes his crush and he jumps out the window to fly, but they fall, and I think his crush gets like impaled by the fence or something. Those shows are so
Mm.
silly. Renford Reginald Wigglebottom.
Yeah.
I started calling him that in the past week. Kat doesn't like it when I do it. She's like, that's not his
I gotta,
name.
I gotta ask you though, personally,
No.
does it really matter, like, to you?
Mm.
Does it really matter if it's a real or not? Like, if it is a dream or if it's real? Like, why does it matter? so much if you can't even tell, or if you can't even distinguish?
Well, given the amount of really weird dreams I've had, I would like to say I know when I'm awake because time is more like understandable.
Sure. Yeah.
Like
So
things
you can
make
definitely
sense.
there's still a point where you can say, "Ah, okay, this is true reality. Ah, okay, that was fake reality." But let's say you couldn't distinguish, and let's say it was an exact replica. Like, would it matter?
Hmm. Well, I feel personally with my own beliefs and an idea of having like a personal goal in life and, stuff I want to achieve. I would want to say it would be important to be able to distinguish. And if you're unable to, it kind of makes all of that in a way like pointless because it's just like at that point everything's probably an illusion. So all this
But does
stuff
it
I'm
does
doing
it
doesn't matter.
matter? Does it matter if it's an illusion though?
Mm.
Like, if you don't know if
Well,
it is or not.
let me do the turntables. What do you think? Like, do you think it matters?
I've thought about this quite a lot, and I would say no, not really, not for me. And
Okay.
I call this the functional replica argument, replicant
Okay.
argument, where if you're asking about something's function and what its sort of purpose, what does it do, and it replicates that perfectly, and I can't tell, it kind of doesn't change anything for me. Like, I still view it the same way, but like, to me, I guess it really doesn't matter a lot because they're both, basically
I
the
mean,
thing. It's just a really good trick.
I feel like like at first you would want to, but I think eventually you just kind of become Sisyphus, where you're just kind of have to just be like, well, all right,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter, just make the best of it. I guess. I mean,
yeah, yeah. And
because
that's the thing is, like, if it really is an exact replica of a thing, how am I gonna know?
fair.
And why would it change anything about the way I experience? Because it's like, it's literally that it's the simulation argument at its best, where it's like, does it really matter what we constitute as real? And I would say not really. I mean, yogis all throughout time have kind of believed this, where it's like, real is just, what you experience. So,
Dude,
yeah.
um, did you have you do are you familiar with the YouTuber Zach Stars himself?
Yeah.
Have
Yeah,
you
he's a good
seen?
guy.
It came out I think like 2 weeks ago. It's like when atheists and Christians find out they're in a simulation.
Yeah.
Dude, that one.
Dude.
Yeah, it was really good, dude.
Hmm.
Because
I
like
love it.
it was basically saying like yeah this creator is essentially yeah it's the Christian God. The Christian God is the person who created this high school project. And if we die,
Yeah.
we get taken out, and our folder is moved to the heaven file.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really good video to like visualize like religion in like the context of being in a simulation.
Sure.
Because I think
Yeah.
that itself is a really cool and interesting concept to talk about. Because like,
Mhm.
wait, so if it's just one person who created it, then you're monotheistic. But if you think a team of developers made it, then you're polytheistic.
Yeah. Pretty much.
This guy programmed the water. This guy programmed the clouds. This guy programmed the mountains.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
And then like the whole idea of like the afterlife being some sort of like other file that you end up being put into or something is also weird. And I
Mhm.
feel like that would also make sense because like if you're wanting that data, why would you, once that compiled file of a person, simulated person, reaches its end, why would you just throw it into trash?
Yeah.
I feel
I
like
mean,
they
it
would
seems
save
like
the file
yeah.
for data. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that's a very thought-provoking thing is like what is
Cause
our
right,
what is
right.
our life
Because like a lot
meaning?
of people are just like when they think about simulation hypothesis, they're just like, oh, are we living in a computer or are we not? Red pill, blue pill, and
Sure.
it's just like, well, it's more than that. Like it,
Yeah.
like if we figured out that we were in a simulation, that would fundamentally change everything.
Oh yeah.
Everything.
People have a field day, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because, everybody is talking, having these different ideas, wanting to talk to this creator to get answers,
Hmm.
and, coming to this existential realization that, oh, I'm just a coded being in a computer. I'm not actually real.
Yeah, I I feel like this I've thought about this a little bit. The feeling that like I am just this thing is one that I've contemplated quite a lot. And it's like
Well, actually,
who
what you
who
are,
who is the
Alex, is so the brain, like consciousness, was an alien that came to this planet long ago and found these primordial vessels that were just kind of walking around, and they created a symbiotic relationship.
I don't know, I just think when people say I am just a human,
Mm-hmm.
they're selling themselves very short.
Oh yeah.
Because to be a human is to be one of the most fantastic creatures that we know of.
And there's so much about like being human, like these emotions and this like comprehension of love that is different than just the chemical you know reaction that happens when you're like, oh yeah, I want to procreate with that.
Yeah.
You got this platonic love, like, I love you,
Mhm,
Alex. I care about you. Platonically, you're my friend. So I care about you. If you were to die, I would be sad. So
mhm.
it's like, because if everything is fake, that shouldn't matter. But for some reason, it does matter. So it also makes me ask, like, why is that programmed into us?
That is a good question.
Why are
I've
we
thought
not
about
just these codes or programs that are being executed following a program? That would be
mhm.
more robotic and kind of a constriction of free will.
Yeah, you're kind of suggesting humans have a predisposition to be a certain way, which you're calling towards something intriguing here because yeah, I mean, why is it that we have these emotions? Why are we encoded to
Mm-hmm.
be a certain way, you know? I think one of our primary code functions is to love, procreate, right? Integrate, um, but it's not it's like kind of like why? Well, why are we? What is the point with objectively?
I mean, I have another
We can,
religious answer for that.
yeah. I mean, I guess to me, like it sort of just makes sense to me that we should want to do these things,
Mm-hmm.
but it is kind of weird or interesting how
Indeed.
it's just baked into us, right? Um, but yeah, we have it's behavior like yeah, I guess you could say behavioral science is interesting. Why
Right.
do
But
people or animals
I feel
behave?
like that just falls under that first assumption that they have to be able to simulate consciousness, which I feel would include
Right,
all of that
right. Yeah,
because you're
yeah, you're
able to
totally right.
actually like the main reason is because we are creatures that at the end of the day we can go home, sit down on our bed and actually reflect on the day.
Yeah, right. I think partially I just felt like I needed to say this in the moment, but
Yeah, go for it.
I think part of our duty or my duty in the world is to just absorb what is given to me, you know. So I'm found myself in this
Mm-hmm.
environment or this reality, and I guess it's my job or other us as a people, our job to absorb and interpret it. And
And
some people are willing to absorb, you know, some people really want to learn about the environment and what's in it, and some people are not enthusiastic about, you know, they just want to do their own thing. But I guess maybe my duty as a person is
uh-huh.
to sort of absorb a lot of it and then maybe to try to emit what I've learned in some sense. So I'm primarily just spending a lot of time investigating and absorbing and thinking. Um, and some of the time I'm trying to express what I've absorbed or figured out or uncovered, right? And I would call that kind of curiosity. You know, we talked about curiosity a while ago, but you know, it's good for people to be curious or enthusiastic about discovery, where we're in an adventure of life, where we are wanting to absorb, we are wanting to learn and absorb and contextualize things. Um, but you know, that's a sort of emotional behavior, and not everybody's always in the mood to be curious and not always in the mood to want to
Mm-hmm.
see what's in their environment.
Could I ask
um
you a personal question relating to
sure.
this? So, are you saying like your life's purpose is to absorb and interpret all of this information?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, that's part one.
And I guess
Okay.
I would go a little further than that. I would say it is to try to interpret or understand what it's trying to tell me, what this environment or
Hmm.
world
Okay.
or anything is trying to reveal to me. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I just want to ask, part two. What is the part two of that? Like, so if we're, you said us, do you mean us as in like humanity as a whole, or are you talking about certain individuals or groups of people?
Oh yeah, I would say like humanity as a whole,
Okay.
or
So,
creatures that can
okay.
interpret.
Okay, and are you also kind of insinuating that in a way is the life purpose of everyone, or are you just saying that is your personal life purpose?
It could be um it is my personal sort of
Okay.
endeavor, but I could see, you know, if other people, it might be some aspect of people's lives, but it
Right.
doesn't have to be the aspect of people's lives. But
Right.
I
And
think
yeah.
curiosity is a very vital aspect
Oh,
because it
indeed.
means it kind of underlyingly means that we are interested in what we find ourselves in, the world that we find ourselves
Hmm.
in. And if we're not interested in this sort of world or in the environment, that can be kind of rough existence to find ourselves in an uninteresting predicament, right?
Hmm.
And so if
And
we had a choice, it would be good to be interested in the universe because
right.
then it'd be a nice place to be, but it's easier said than done.
Hmm.
Especially with age. I think when we're kids, everything's exciting and we want to be curious, we want to learn, but then as we age, it's like, it's the same shit. It's the same stuff. Um, but there's still more, you know, I would say there's
Right.
yeah.
Uh,
But it might be in an aspect of purpose.
right. I agree with that. And what you were saying about curiosity is like, I completely agree. It's good to be curious. You want to be curious hungry. And it also
Yeah.
brings up one of my favorite quotes, which is actually written by J.K. Rowling. And
Oh
that
yeah.
is, Harry, did you put your name into the goblin? No. It is by Dumbledore, but the quote is, curiosity is not a sin. which I believe he says to Harry after Harry discovers the mirror that reveals like your deepest desire. I forget what the
Yeah.
mirror was called, but
Mm,
I really like that quote a lot because it's good to be
mhm.
curious, and
Yeah.
it's not sinful to be curious unless you're curious about sinful things. But
Right.
to want to
Morbid
know
curiosity.
things and have knowledge of things is always good. Uh,
Mhm.
and uh, going back to like the questions I was asking about it, with that life, with that being the life purpose of at least you, and to an extent, an aspect in some, if
Mhm.
not everyone's lives,
Mhm.
of this absorbing an interpretation of our environment. What's like the the goal? Like what are
Well,
we doing with that?
I guess if you're really like asking, absorption for me is a
Mm-hmm.
big part of it, but another part of that is to not only absorb and collect, but it is to emit what we've absorbed. And well, we have a will, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we have a choice. We can do what we want with our energy. Our energy is like what we have, right?
Right.
We have time, we have energy, and we can do pretty much whatever we want with that time and energy. Um, and we're talking about emission and expression here. Um, but in order to emit well, I would say if you're seeking to emit well, there's a whole process for that kind of, and you can emit well, I think, if you can absorb well. And it's not always a perfect science, but if you can absorb cleanly and maintain continuity and refine yourself through time, then you can emit and express better because there'll be less friction, I think. It's kind of about minimizing the friction where you're absorbing and emitting. And you
Mm-hmm.
can just kind of absorb seamlessly and express and emit seamlessly in whatever you're choosing to do with that energy that you have. Um, hopefully, it's good things, right?
Mm-hmm. So, um, just kind of simplifying it for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're kind of like saying that we are taking this information that we have interpreted and sharing it in terms of like ideas and like uh, beliefs and ideas and thoughts of afterthoughts
Mhm.
of how the universe works or how this world works.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
And I would also
Okay.
add a little bit something to that. There's a lot of emissions that are kind of lousy emissions, I would say.
I
And I
I
would say
agree. A lot of stupid people
that,
out there.
well, they haven't done the work to refine what they've absorbed,
Hey, I
maybe
didn't
enough.
say they couldn't get better.
Oh yeah, yeah. And that's the hope is that I'm talking about
I
myself
hope
too.
that. I'm just
I
saying,
could
as of right now, they're pretty dumb. More IQ in a
well,
box of rocks.
I'm hopeful for humanity.
Me too. Me too.
But yeah, I think we could have better critical thinking skills. It's good to be
Absolutely.
wise. Um, and I don't think we're often taught how to be
That.
wise.
Hang on.
Yeah.
So, so you know how like critical thinking gets heavily impaired when you're under like highly stressful emotions?
Oh yeah.
So, do you think
Hmm.
emotions are like a virus to our code?
Yeah. Yeah. They corrupt and well, they can enhance or they can corrupt. That's why I talk about the nervous system every once in a while, right? The sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Because if stress is primarily activated in the sympathetic, your nervous system is firing There's a lot of complexity, and that's kind of what stress is. The parasympathetic is rest and digest, chillin', right? It activates when you're sleeping. Um, I would say most of the problems in life are an overactive sympathetic nervous system. And it's a very old, very, yeah, and it affects our emotions and how we feel. And that and our emotions, again, affect our brains and our logic, you know? There's a lot of connection happening there. So worth noting. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because yeah, once you really begin to piece, oh wait, my emotions actually do affect how I think, you're like on a different level at that point.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of people don't really understand, oh, my emotions are affecting me. Even my diet affects my emotions, which affect my brain. So my health, my diet, my emotions, they're all affecting my brain. And so for us to think that our brain exists in some vacuum, no, it's very, very connected to our physiology.
Yep. Jar.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm glad you said that. Yeah, it's worth pointing out too. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, you're also making some really valid points. I mean, I wouldn't really have like come to that, until you said, like critical thinking. I was thinking like, yeah, usually people are pretty, calm and collected, but there are times where, husband comes home, finds the wife cheating,
Mhm.
and blam, blam.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And
I
it's
guess part
also,
of that here,
so,
I might want to add something a little.
yeah,
I was just gonna say,
yeah, yeah, go for it, go for it.
I was just gonna bring up cognitive load, okay?
Hmm.
Because cognitive load is kind of how we evolutionarily like think about things, and the brain doesn't like to have complexity, so it's gonna make complex things really simple, and that's a simple solution to a complex problem. Just thought I'd add that in there.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Going onward with the whole, like emotions being a virus, uh, the emotions that I'm thinking about are like rage and stuff. These emotions that we usually label as negative.
Mhm.
So, do you think it's just negative emotions that are a virus? And positive emotions would be like, I don't know. I don't know. I
I
don't know
think
how
you're
they
you're on the
translate.
right. You're definitely on the right path. I think you're definitely right to suggest that. Um, if you're asking,
It's
the
medicine.
spreadability,
Yeah.
yeah, I think, yeah, positive and negative emotions, they affect people differently. Okay, so if we know anything about how we interpret information, we have cognitive bias or negativity bias, if you will. This idea that
Mm.
the type of information we hear, we have different impacts. Our brain has a different meaning or impact associated with the type of information.
Right.
So,
And if I could just quickly explain that, you're
mhm,
talking about like the whole idea that we are more sensitive to negative information, right?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's
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 that is a evolution of the brain for survival.
mhm,
Uh,
yes,
it is going to be it's best to like that's why like traumatic experiences are always so vivid and so real. It's your
mhm,
brain basically saying, "Hey, remember when this happened? Let's make sure
yeah,
this doesn't happen again."
mhm,
Like, and that's why you're always like, I don't know, lost my train of thought a little, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah, but
right.
yeah, I just wanted
And,
to say like, yeah, that's just why we do it. It's evolution. It's primed us for better chances of survival to avoid negative situations, which is why when we receive negative information, uh, or
it's more
see
impactful.
negative stuff, yeah, it's more impactful. And it's also
Mhm,
kind of gotten to the point to where we latch on to negativity a lot more. Um, like you can even probably see this on any social media platform. To go on, go and look at a positive post, nice, positive, wholesome post. Look at the comments. Look at how many comments there are. Now find one where there's a bunch of people dunking on someone, and look at the number of comments
mhm,
there. Probably a lot more. And it's just because we easily latch on to negative things a lot more. And it's also kind of getting to the point to where some of us are enjoying it. And
Yeah, I mean, it's built in our survival mode. People aren't going to remember. They're going to remember how to survive more than they're going to, remember the nice things in life, I guess. Yeah, it's a rough thing to sort of understand, I guess, about our condition, our human condition, because I think it's basically at the age of 11 or 12 is where we make the switch from positive feedback being the primary impactful thing into the negative feedback, where for the rest of our life,
angsty teens.
yeah, negative feedback is just a lot more impactful. And it's again for survival reasons, right? Um,
So
and so I think part of it is kind of important though, because like if we didn't have negativity bias, we probably wouldn't be alive or the way we are today. So we have negativity bias to thank a little bit because we're alive because of it, right? It might suck, because we're we're influenced by negative stimuli quite a lot.
watch
But
your local news. Every once in a while they'll have a wholesome story, but never on a national news network. It's always negative stuff and bias and shit talking. So
But maybe to wrap back around to like your sort of original question about, sort of emotion, positive or negative, being like a virus, like, and I think, yeah, I mean, I think that's true. And people can be corrupted by negative emotions and it can really weigh on people. But people can also be maybe healed or cleansed in some sense, lifted up from positive emotions, right? Encouragement, these kind of things. So it's kind of suggesting, yeah, what we do and what we will is significant. Our, like you could say in the yogic perspective, karma matters, our karma and our action and what we do with our energy matters. Because it'll have a ripple effect. If we do something good, it'll ripple outward into goodness. And if we do something bad, it'll ripple outward into badness.
we are in a simulation. Why would we be impacted by viruses like that? Don't you think they'd patch that?
It'd all be whatever the simulator wanted the simulatees to experience.
I mean,
Because, like, I guess
fair enough.
at that point, it's like it's not really under our jurisdiction. Maybe another question would be to what should consciousness learn in its brief time in this universe, if there is anything to learn?
Do you think that we're here experiencing this, collecting data to be looked at later?
Or like data points. Each human's like a data
Right.
point to understand better.
Right.
Maybe. It could be, I've thought maybe that existence is sort of just an emergent experiment where nobody, even God or ourselves, we don't actually know how this experiment's going to go. But maybe it's just to see what emerges from it. And truly, maybe it's just to discover, what is being manifested in front of us. Yeah. It's hard
Okay.
it's hard to say.
Don't you think that a highly advanced civilization would have more of an understanding of, ourselves and them or themselves? Like, why? I guess I'm trying to kind of tackle the point as to why they would want to simulate.
It is a good question. The purpose of a simulation. Yeah, I mean, I guess if anything else, it's just for something interesting to happen. I guess if you could imagine God, you could be extremely bored if there's simply nothing manifested yet. a blank universe, just absolutely nothing. That doesn't sound super interesting. So maybe God was like, I want something to happen. I don't know what I want to happen, but I know I want something because this is boring. You can imagine, yeah, all eternity and just a blank nothingness. Yeah, it's not that appealing, I guess.
But would you experience it?
Maybe. I mean, you could say you let's. I mean, yeah. I mean, you could just have this conscious.
That's my biggest fear, because in my beliefs, some people believe that like once you die, you go to the afterlife,
Mm-hmm.
and some believe that you die and you kind of stay in that state until the second coming.
Oh my.
And my biggest fear is dying and basically like existing, like being aware that I'm like, you know, whether it just be my soul itself. And it's like purgatory. The idea of it is just scary. It's just nothing.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing you can do. I mean, maybe you're a ghost going around. That's a hint at a future episode that I had planned.
Yeah.
Be around as a ghost. But like let's say it's like 25,000 years from now. The Jesus comes back and he's like, "What's up?" And I've been dead that long. And have I just been chilling, just like not experiencing it for that time? Or am I? And my biggest fear is that I will experience it. I do that, and even more terrifying is like we die and there's nothing, but you still experience that nothing. Because then you're just in nothingness forever, for eternity, nothing. And I'm just like, I mean, I understand that, you know, it's my mortal brain rather than whatever I am when I die, if we are anything. And it's like, I feel like you'd go a little crazy. Solitary confinement's not good for long periods of time.
Yeah.
That's ending of Soma.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
Yeah. It's spooky to think about. I mean, eternity or infinity for a human, it's kind of weird that we can even have any sort of notion of what that would be. But yeah, to wrap our head around it, it's like it's mind-boggling.
It is.
And it drives us crazy.
Infinity makes my head
But I would
hurt.
I would say as a human being, we almost have like this kind of twofold part of us. There's a part of us that is constrained and intelligible and understandable. And then there's this other part of us that is longing for the infinite. So we got this small, constrained little part of us wanting to be expressed, wanting to be viewed, to be seen, to be acknowledged. And then there's this infinite part of us that is maybe more eternal, higher, maybe infinite, that draws us towards beautiful and awesome things like art and God. And I think that's the main tension of reality, is like we want to be this infinite thing, but we can't be this infinite thing because we're constrained, but we want to be, you know? I think that's just part of the life, is like there's so much to us where the constraining part of life is painful for us to acknowledge and come to terms with, because it's like, I want to be infinite. I want to be a superhero. I want to be it all.
Get your damn claws out of me. Holy shit, my knee. Continue.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Continue.
But yeah, I just think a lot of people feel this tension between what they are and what they could be,
Hmm.
being and becoming, if you will, right? People are trying to become something, but they're not really a lot of times absorbing or being, or not happy with being, you know? And I think if we have time, we should strive to enjoy our time if we can, in this limited time and energy that we do have. If we're always becoming something, well, then we aren't really embracing being, you know? But if you're only embracing being, well, you're never becoming something either. You're never striving much. So it's this balance between who you are and who you want to be.
We're talking a lot about like life meaning for a reality that might not even be real.
Sure. But again,
Uh,
does it really matter if it's real or not? I don't know.
oh,
Personally,
you
I don't
should.
I don't think it matters a lot.
I would have to agree. I don't think it would
Mhm.
really matter. I mean, once you're comfortable and accept the fact,
Yeah, it only
it's the
matters
case.
if you know it only really is meaningful if you know that there's a true reality underlying. And then it matters because it's like, oh, is that real? But if you don't know that it's not real, you don't know.
Right,
And so
but
therefore it doesn't really appeal to you much.
right, but if you don't know, there is a possibility that it is real, right?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
a little bit of Pascal's wager right there, buddy.
right.
Mathematically, I should, accept this as real, even if it's not, just
Yeah,
in case.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
I mean, yeah.
Any final thoughts that you want to talk about on simulations?
Simulations I think are actually really awesome. I think in modeling in general is a fantastic use of time and energy. Um, when we model stuff, it means that if we model well, then we can extrapolate from the model. And I always found that to be really impactful for predictability. Um, yeah, I think modeling it's truly awesome, for the pursuit of knowledge. And if you don't have a good internal model, it can be hard to understand the 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 potentialities that could emerge from that. Um, but yeah, simulations, they can be very convincing, and I guess wherever anybody goes, just know that you're. I believe that you're real, and you should act as though you are real, and even if you can't always prove even if you always can't even prove it. Yeah, I mean, it's good to trust your senses. It's good to just accept it, whether it's true or fake. It doesn't matter really. That's
I
all I gotta
just
say.
remembered another good simulation movie, The Mill,
The Mill. Oh, I think I saw that one.
with Lil Ray Howery. Yeah,
Yeah,
because he's in a simulation the whole time,
that's
and
dope.
none of it was real. It's crazy. But yeah, simulations, although like scary, like the concept of just being in a simulation, because
Mhm.
like I've tripped before, and all I was get me out of here, get me out of the simulation. How do I take the
Mm.
headset off? What specific movements do I have to do to get this headset off of me? How do I get out of this? And I could
Yeah.
feel like all of us,
Kind of.
all of all of the consciousness like dots in this giant cube, because that's where we actually were. We were in the cube. Don't do drugs,
Yeah.
kids.
I think maybe if I were to add anything else to that, is try not to feel trapped, even though maybe we could be trapped.
What if what if drugs are the thing that actually take the glasses off?
I've heard that. I know this to be true. Psychedelics, they don't evoke anything that wasn't already there. So your body is just yeah,
Kind of
it's
doing a
just
self deep
enhancing
dive.
what it is. Yeah. Or it's stopping the inhibition if there would be one.
Right.
Um, but it's not really. I mean, it's just doing what was already there, kind of, with the
Right.
drugs.
And
But
I mean, with the whole like the drugs taking off your glasses, I'm not saying that like that's the case at all. Please don't do drugs, especially hard
yeah,
ones. Please don't. Um,
they're not. They're
I'm just saying, in terms of like a philosophical level, you get to some value out of it. You kind of learn more about yourself. I got more confident,
yeah.
more comfortable with how life is and stuff, but not doing it again. All right, well, we're gonna end it here. Good conversations. I need to make myself a little supper. I'm excited for tomorrow. I get to go have lunch at Olive Garden with my parents,
Oh, that's cool.
and then afterwards, I'm gonna be looking at tickets after this. Hoping that there still are some. I'm gonna watch Iron Lung after.
Heck, maybe I'll do it too. Everybody's hyping it up. Maybe I'll watch Iron
Yeah,
Lung.
Zach went and watched it.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. Well, if you're into simulation, I don't know, do something about it.
Be calm and carry on.
Yeah, many things you can do. Just be calm about it. And if it is real, cool. Be rational. Still be chill. There's only one option.
Yeah.
Be calm, collected, please.
Actually, maybe whether it's real or not doesn't actually change the outcome. Yeah.
You're right. What if it does? It just made our entire. I mean, if that's the case, our whole conversation is kind of meaningless. But all right.
Nihilism.
Nihilism.
Yeah.
Nihilism for the win.
But yeah, as always, it's a pleasure having everybody here listen to us.
Absolutely.
We love our viewers.
All right, time to do the ending rambling. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching this episode of the Afterburners, your necessary side supplement to the Afterthoughts. You thought I forgot to mention it at the beginning? I didn't mention it at the beginning, but I'm mentioning it now. Necessary side supplement. Go watch an episode of Afterthoughts, and then come back and rewatch this episode right now. Do it. If you liked, please leave a like. If you have anything to say, put it in the comments. If you have any direct questions, comments, concerns on Alex's current financial ruin because of all the viruses he was sent, send us an email to at snazzyyogi@gmail.com. If
I'm dying over here.
You can also check out all the hosts. All of our links are down there. Go subscribe to Alex. He's pumping out some quality content on his channel. It's awesome. It's so much content. Like you could just spend hours there watching all the videos.
If we get enough traffic, I will definitely put out some more videos if people are interested.
Put out a single video, man. You just wave to the camera and that's it. Yeah.
It's 5 seconds.
Yeah, but yeah, all the links and stuff down in the description. And if you want to stay up to date with all of our upcoming episodes and stuff we do, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell notification. Get that serotonin, that little dopamine hit, because you ring the bell. Ding 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 ding. Just needs more bright lights and sound effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, make it like a lottery
Taco
machine.
Bell sound.
Sadly, I don't got that. I don't have that on my soundboard.
Ah, man.
But yeah, thank you everybody for watching. And remember, tonight's the night.